Hey everyone, welcome to Limitless Radiocast, episode 70. Chad and I are hanging out with the amazing Piet Wilhelm out of Triton Fight Center, where he and his wife run the facility in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. We get into some of Piet's background, talk just life in general, how he runs his facility, and much more. You guys turn that volume up, throw those headphones on, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The show is being brought to you by Hoist IV Level Hydration. Everyone, you guys got to check this out. They're an amazing product. Chad and I drink this product, and I will tell you what, it has by far beat every sports drink I personally have ever tried. 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. It's half the sugar of traditional. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial preservatives, sweeteners, or dyes. It's BPA-free, kosher, made in the United States of America, and there are 6 delicious flavors. This stuff is amazing. You guys need to go out there and check it out. LimitLess 10 at checkout for a discount. Check them out. Also, we want to thank our other sponsors, and we ask all you guys to go out there and thank them as well. Magic City Brewing Company, Red Tail Tattoo Company, Kandray Law, M&H Beans, Coffee Supply, Gateway Dental Care, Thomas Webb of DeHoff Realtors. Also, you guys need some fight gear, some gis, some stuff to get out there and get you on the mat? Well, you need to go out there and check out Lanky Fight Gear. Limitless 20 at checkout for a discount. Also, go out and check out the amazing products from Lashley Nutrition. They're amazing products. They can get you protein, creatine, anything you need. Plant-based, great products, great people. Check them out. Also, want to improve your jiu-jitsu? Go out and check out BJJ Foundation. Limitless 25 at checkout for a discount for all kinds of instructionals, DVDs, and great information from the amazing James Klingerman. Check them out. Hey everybody, so with the recent passing of Leandro-lo, we wanted to do a shout out to the amazing people over at BJJ Fanatics have started a donation page, and we're going to have that information in our show notes, and we're going to keep it in there for several weeks because we want people to go out there and support the family and what they're doing as a community for this young man who has tragically been taken from us. We always talk about, people that we care about and love and we have connections to. Well, Chad and I never had the opportunity to meet him or speak to him or have him on the show, but people in our community have been touched by the loss of this young man, and it is vital and important that we all come together for that kind of stuff and support people and support those out there that will miss this person. We will miss this person because I never got an opportunity to talk to him, to learn from him, to be educated, to hear his story. So we were asking all of you out there to go out to the link that's going to be in our show notes. BJJ Fanatics has set this up, and you can donate. Every little bit's going to help this family get things going, start a foundation, do anything you can. So without further ado, guys, go out there and check that out. We appreciate you guys so much. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Hope all you out there are doing well and taking care of yourself, as we say each and every week on this show. So Chad and I have the opportunity to hang out with the amazing Piet Wilhelm. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Renato Tavares. Piet is the founder of the Triton Fight Center with his wife in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, where he has had the opportunity to train and still does train MMA fighters as well as jiu-jitsu practitioners. He is also a retired United States Marine, where he had the opportunity to train recruits and fellow military personnel. And I had to look down and read that because I had it too far down in my paper. So I apologize. Piet, thanks for joining us. And thank you for your service and all that you've done for our country. Appreciate it very much, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Huge honor and pleasure to be on the show.
Yes, thank you. Like I was saying before we kind of started, it's important to give everyone's perspective that changes people's lives in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and someone like yourself and, your wife opening up the Triton Center and there in Oklahoma, which I'm still like, how was that? How was it like Oklahoma? It's not known for Jiu-Jitsu. Not that Ohio is either, because we're in Ohio. So what was that like?
Well, I ended up here by pure accident, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I thought Oklahoma was just like some made-up state, and that just tells you how much I know about geography and things like that. I really didn't pay much attention in school sometimes, and when I enlisted into the military, I you see that movie of what is that movie called? Officer and a Gentleman.
With
Richard Gere in it. They're like, oh yeah, I don't want to marry some Okie from Muskogee, and and I'm like, what is that? I was like, so I never really, I thought it was just some Oklahoma, Muskogee was just some Hollywood made up place. And sure enough, I ended up getting orders to come down to Oklahoma at one point, and I just end up never leaving. And it's when I got here on the scene, there was some MMA gyms, but there was no jiu-jitsu whatsoever. At that point, I was already an 11-year white belt in jiu-jitsu. So,
okay.
Being in the military, I was just hopping around all the time, going from one place to another. And we would either have a blue belt or purple belt run the show at these local gyms, and nobody would rank me up, just because they're like, they didn't want to waste the promotion on somebody that was just going to be gone in 3-6 months. So I spent a good 11 years of my career as a white belt. And it wasn't until when I moved to Oklahoma, I fell under Enrique Stefani, who's a black belt under Emerson Navarro, who is a black belt under Renato Tavares. So long story short, I'm a Renato Tavares black belt. Once Enrique went back to Brazil. So, but yeah, that's how my jiu-jitsu kind of got started. And my first formal training under a black belt wasn't until I came to Oklahoma. And when a black belt seeked me out, say, hey, are you interested in having jiu-jitsu taught at your academy? I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Did you get to train though? Even being in the military, I understand you're traveling a lot and you're from here to there and whatnot. And honestly, you're probably one of the best white belts ever. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure you probably, you still got the opportunity to put some of that, training or, the education of jiu-jitsu to work, right?
I did. I used to tell my Marines, make sure that you're training outside of the Marine Corps Martial Arts program, training outside of what we had the line training. We also had the Marine close combat program.
Sure.
So it was called CCI, close combat instructor. So the Marine Corps went through a couple of different programs, which now it has evolved to the Marine Corps Martial Arts program. And I would tell the Marines I would train with, man, you need to do more than just what we do here as our curriculum. If you want to evolve your game, you need to go out in town, find a local academy or gym or dojo, and either continue training in Muay Thai, kickboxing, grappling, wrestling, something along those lines.
Sure.
Just stay active, because if not, you're just doing a check in the box. So I got pretty decent at grappling while I was in the Marine Corps, and it helped me get my gym started when I decided to do a side gig, so to speak.
Sure.
And, yeah. So, but
go ahead. I was just going to say that, like, it makes me think of, we have a ton of friends that are LEOs. Ari, that we talked about, Ari K, that we had in the show, and mutual friendship with him. And he's talked about it before. He's like, you can't just check the box. Like, you have to do this regularly. One of Chad Lyman, which is part of that whole, Invictus stuff. And we have it actually, the C4C thing for LEOs at our gym at East Coast in Starr County, Canton, Ohio. And he even has videos out there where he's like, I'm a lion and you're a zoo lion. Where the zoo lion's a guy who checks the box because he's not a savage, and the lion is someone who trains outside of just their normal everyday, I have to be there, quotes, I'm air quoting for you guys that aren't watching this on YouTube. So, but you know what I mean? So I can see where, for that, like what you're explaining, it's the same thing. Like, tell guys to go outside.
It's often said you can show up to the mats and you'll get better. That's been like your common thing you hear in the jiu-jitsu community. But it's like saying you go to church, you end up being a perfect Christian. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to show up with a purpose. So when you show up to jiu-jitsu, you got certain goals in mind. I want to get better at this. I'm going to get better so it applies to my job, either being LEO or being military or I'm looking to compete someday. So I need to be working on these positions. I need to be working on these situations. I need to put myself in bad spots to experience the chaos here and find that comfort in uncomfortable situations. But if you don't show up with that mindset, yeah, you're going to get better, but it's just the progressions, you'd be so much slower.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of diving right in, people ask me all the time, because I'm a late starter. We've talked many times on the show about it, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And people are like, why would you do it now? And stuff like that. And it's kind of like, well, I'm all in anyway. Like Chad's like, you're an all in guy. And I'm like, I am. Like, I'm just going to do it and, be smart about it, whatever, not, get majorly injured and that kind of stuff. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, but that's what you have to do. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to come once a month and hope that I'm getting better or whatever, unless you want that journey to be like 50 years, which black belts like yourself and Chad, it is that, but it's a different perspective because you're still learning all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And passing that on. So yeah, that's good, man. Like that perspective is really good to have for everybody. I'm sure people that come into your gym, like they have that different perspective. Do people come in? I know we kind of joked about it and talked about it. Like people want to come in like, hey, I want to be a fighter. I want to be this and that. Can you tell the perspective pretty quickly now that you've been around for so long?
Usually right now we've changed things up at my gym as far as like our recruiting process. We have a blue line program. We call it blue belts for blue line. And it's where a LEO can come in and we'll let them train for free until they achieve the rank of blue belt.
Nice.
So we've been doing that for a very long time. I don't even advertise it on my website anymore, because when I first threw it on my website, I got people that signed up like right away, and they would buy the uniform, and I went out of stock. I mean, I ran out of uniforms, and maybe like 2 to 3 of them actually showed up and actually participated on the mats. They just heard this, blue line special. So everybody signed up. And so I kind of did away. I took it off my website, but we are still running that program, and it's primarily all word of mouth. So my cops tell other cops, and they do the vetting for me. They weed out the individuals that are going to be flaky. And so the cops that do show up at my gym, most of them already know that we offer that, but the ones that don't is because they're goal oriented. They know that they need to be doing this to protect themselves, to get better at their job, better at their skill set, at their craft, and also to go home to their families. So yeah, we haven't had to really do much advertising on my website. If anybody comes across it, we actually say that you need to know somebody at our gym in order to train at our gym, and which also keeps it a little bit more family oriented. It keeps it more intimate, so to speak. Yep. And
you build a culture.
Yeah. So, and there's tons of great gyms in my area. I mean, there's one half a mile down the road from me that's at one of my affiliates. There's one 2 miles down the road from me that is not an affiliate, but we have a great relationship. And we got, like I said, there's all over our metropolitan area. There's a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, so people can't go wrong. If they can't find a spot on my mats, they're going to find one somewhere else.
Sure.
So, and I'm okay with that. I'm not greedy. I don't need all the clientele in the Tulsa area. Nor do I want it.
You don't want it. Right.
So, but we also do background checks. And so anybody that does sign up, we will run a background check on them to make sure that they're not pedophiles, that they're not creepers. They don't have, some crazy allegation up against them.
Sure.
They don't have any like stalking charges, whatnot. So,
sure.
And anybody that does have like maybe like a DUI, they got in trouble with the law at some point, I will have an interview with them and hear them out and see where they're at. And it's because I do believe that everybody deserves a chance. So
sure. Yeah. You're doing your due diligence. I mean, you want to, like you said, finding someone to come in with, and we've talked to many people, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, Pete. It's hard to walk into a martial arts academy in our version of martial arts. Like when I say our area, our community, jiu-jitsu fighting, A lot of people don't want to do it. They want to go down to, like just karate or just taekwondo. And people hear me say this all the time. And I want those people to be successful in those disciplines as well. I never would say anything bad about them because I did that stuff when I was younger as well. But it's hard for someone to come in and go, man, that person's going to grab me, try to choke me, kind of do this. It's hard for people to walk through the door. Grown men have a problem walking through the door. So I like hearing that. Like, I was fortunate when I walked in the East Coast, I knew somebody. Like, I knew them. They didn't remember me, but I guess like, hey, you remember me? I walked right on the mat. and they were like, what? And then I trained with them that night, and I haven't left since. And, obviously the family oriented has gotten better, but that's cool. Like, I love that. You're just doing your due diligence, especially if I'm sure you have kids programs. And
we do.
Yeah. So, just got to make sure that people are doing.
Yeah, we just recently revamped our kids program, so it's been pretty cool. So
nice.
It's most jiu-jitsu schools, they're usually like 1 or 2 instructors, 40 students, 40 kids, 50 kids, and they're trying to do damage control on all these children. So,
yeah, sure.
and it's really difficult. So we just revamped our kids program. And also, I don't allow any kids to sign up between now and the 1st of September anyways, because kids are going back to school.
Yep.
And I don't want a flaky kid that parents are like excited, I got to get with my kid in something. And then middle of September, like, this doesn't fit our schedule, blah, blah, blah. Right, so I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to bother with that. I'll give you 2 free weeks, figure it out, see if this is going to work for your schedule or not.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But but yeah, it certainly makes it a lot easier. Of course, if you can get volunteers on the mats to help out, that makes a big difference as well too. And that's also another way how we do our adult program is that I always pair up my white belts with a senior belt. They're never paired up with another white belt, so it enhances training. Training goes by a little bit faster and smoother. Yeah. And it's almost like you have your own personal coach.
You don't let two bowls in a china shop, like
no.
Yeah.
No. But our program is it's pretty cool. I have a total of 4 black belts, including myself, that runs the class, and I break the groups down into squads, and each member has their own assigned team leader. And within each team, they also have an assistant team leader. So a black belt and a blue belt, or a black belt and a purple belt, a black belt and a seasoned white belt, for that matter. It's whoever volunteers. But we do have our assigned 4 black belts, and then our team leaders that carry the core. And within each squad, we have anywhere from 12 to 16 kids. And every time they show up to practice, they know what squad to go to, and they're getting that one-on-one training or not one-on-one training, but they're getting that quality training in with a black belt at that early stage in their jiu-jitsu career, in groups of 12 to 15, which makes it a lot easier than teaching a group of 40 to 60 kids.
Oh, by far. Yeah. And to keep their, I have 3 kids, and like, the mental capacity for them, like my youngest, and it's like, yeah, you're getting 35 minutes at the most. I mean, it's like he's 8 years old. He's going to be 9 here in October. And I'm like, still to this day, I'm like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, it's just short windows of you to, let's focus on the real good stuff. And then let's just move on, because it's not going to, kids are, and that's okay. I mean, they're absorbing, kids are smart, their brains are really absorbing a lot of that. So that's awesome. Always love hearing that. Go ahead.
We also try to get the parents involved. So each squad has their own individual group me page, and they can communicate with their professors on there. They can communicate with their instructors, the assistant team leaders, on any concerns. Hey, my kid is really struggling with this, struggling with that. So instead of everything being put on my plate, my black belts, my team leaders, assistant team leaders, they can handle all that.
You've done a great job delegating.
Heck yeah.
Like some, most people like have a hard time, or they have a hard time giving it up, but you wouldn't survive.
I have to.
Yeah.
At my academy, I have 500 students, and it is, I can't do it all. It's impossible. Yeah. Even with my working hard wife, she's amazing. And it's, but she also has her own program at my facility.
I was going to ask you, train jujitsu in that too? Is it?
No.
Okay.
We started dating, and then she came to find out she came and visited a class at one point, and she runs our conditioning program. So what would be like CrossFit or HIIT? Mm-hmm. We have our own little program. We call it Semper Fit, which is stemmed off the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And she writes their own programs and run the training, and that's her baby. So she invests a lot of her time running those classes. And she got up to the rank of purple belt, and occasionally will grace us with her presence. But for the most part, she's very invested into fitness. So.
Good. That's all. Good for her, though. I mean, you find a passion. Tell people all the time, do what you love. Don't let something consume you just because you feel you have to do it. If you don't love it, then why are you doing this? We live one life, one time. We get this. So do everything that you want to do for the right reasons, but for the love of what you're doing, That's
such a hard thing to convey to people, right? Like I didn't get that opportunity till I was 40 years old. So almost 7 years ago to like start running the gym and stuff. And, I have twin boys that just graduated high school, and, everybody's like, oh, you got to make this money and you got to do this. And it's like, man, just find something you want to do. Right. Like it's very tough. Of course you want your kids to be successful and make a lot of money if they can, but you also want them to be happy and not, waste time too. But then on the other hand, they have some time to waste. They're young. They're 18. They got to figure it out.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, my son's 12, and he started jiu-jitsu when he was 3. But as he got older, he found his passion for football and basketball.
Nice.
So, and we want him to explore what those other options are. And I told him, well, it's fine. He hits the mats every now and then, but he is an outstanding kicker in football, loves basketball, like I said. And as long as he's staying active and not just hang out behind a computer and playing video games, I want him to have an active physical activity to be. And a lot of his coaches, they're just great influencers in his life as well too. So I think we all need that.
By far.
Some of my biggest influences in my life have been football coaches, or my instructor Renato Tavares as well too. So having that influence in your life is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a must, to be honest. I always tell Goofy, I say it all the time, said on the show many times. I'm like, there's people that sit at your table, and it's important from you're young, you start figuring. I tell my kids all the time that you got, surround yourself with good people. Make sure those are people that can sit at your table. They not only care about you, but they'll challenge you. They'll keep you out of trouble, but they'll push you to do more, to not just be stagnant and be lazy or whatever. So convince you to do other things that are good and healthy for you and for those around you. Like once you get that in life, and it's so hard, I get it. Like it took me a long time to figure that out. I was an angry young person. But when I did finally figure all that out, it was like, oh yeah, like I missed all this mental stuff later or earlier on. So now I just try to project that onto my own kids and like, hey, this is what you should do, so get out there. Absolutely. Stop being a bum. That's what I tell them.
Right.
And my wife's like, gosh, you're so hard on them. And I'm like, I know I am. I gotta be great at something. Sitting here isn't helping. No, I'm just kidding.
I've certainly find that balance by going to church. My wife and I, we go to a local church, and our son goes to a private Christian school.
Oh, nice.
So we definitely try to practice what is being preached and apply that to our lifestyle, because we have to set the right example for our son.
Yep.
And we can't be hypocrites. We can't say, well, this is what the pastor says, and I'm going to go off and do my own thing.
Right.
We got to try to lead by the right example.
Yeah. No, you're 100%.
Which has also been an influence for me when it comes to jiu-jitsu and being a professor. I don't want to be walking around, just pointing the fingers and not applying some of the jiu-jitsu as well too. I don't need to go out there and be a world champion, but I should be able to go out there and apply the fundamentals that are being taught.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. Well, watching everything that I've seen in videos and stuff Chad has shared with me, I'm like,
Yeah.
World
so that's
champion.
where
right there, like it is. You are.
So that's kind of back in the day. I don't know. It's been probably 10 years ago now. Pete is the reason that all of my guys know the Joker choke. I saw that back in the day, and our other black belt, Pete Schock, that's like his go-to choke.
He uses it all the time.
If you've rolled with him, you've been Joker choked.
Yep. I got what black belt said is now is like it's his signature move now too.
Yeah, and from all positions. I think in that video maybe it was from guard or whatever, but man, you can hit it from so many different spots.
Yeah, I was losing on it. I was down on points at a tournament, and I think I was in half guard at the time, and I was able to just wrap the lapel correctly, and with 3 seconds to spare, he taps to the Joker choke, and it's in one of Ari uploaded it on Submissions 101 with the competition footage to back it up, which was really cool. And then a lot of my kids, I teach my kids, my 9, 10, and 11-year-olds the Joker choke. Because, the cross collar choke, a lot of them are going to have a hard time with the mechanics a little bit. Yeah. But with the Joker choke, it is money. It freaks kids out. It puts them in panic mode. Right. Same with adults. And it's a really hard one to pry off and just get off of you. So 9 out of 10 times is working 10 times. So,
what you have set up. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, is that something? Did you learn that from somebody? Or is that something you kind of came up with, or?
I learned it from someone. She did not have a very colorful name for the technique. So I just renamed it to the Joker choke to make it a little bit more friendly to the public. Yeah. But if you're hearing Lana Stefanik, thank you. So Lana Stefanik is, I believe, one of the first female black belt world champions.
Yeah. So I know her brother Mark very well.
Yeah. So I learned it from Lana.
Okay. Yeah. Her brother owns a gym in Ohio here.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep. So I've known him for a long time. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. That and the other move that I always steal from you is the bow tie Kimura.
The bow tie Kimura.
Yeah.
Ari has enhanced that one. He's added so many little
tweaks
to it, and it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going down memory lane looking at those old videos. So
Ari's probably added a wrist lock to it in some way, just because. He did. Like I was going to say, it's like his thing. Like everything's a wrist lock, which Chad was doing wrist lock Wednesdays for the longest time.
I think Ari added the wrist lock and the tea bag to the face. So.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Not Ari. Not Ari.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's awesome. Very cool. So, crap! I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, where you are now in terms of you've been around for a long time now. How long? Well, your gym in Oklahoma, your academy, was that something that you were like, yeah, I want to do this? Like, was there a passion even before that? When you were traveling, a lot of military and stuff like that. I understand. Were you like, I want a gym one day to train people how to do this?
I honestly just enjoyed being in the military. I never really envisioned that I was going to do this as a career.
Oh, okay.
I did have an opportunity to teach martial arts and close combat when I was in the Marine Corps. And I experimented a little bit when I was in South Carolina, and I went to a Boys and Girls Club, and I offered my services voluntarily to teach young boys and girls, how to defend themselves. So, and just kind of played around with that idea a little bit, but I never really thought, oh man, I should do this for a living. And it wasn't until I moved to Oklahoma and some injuries started creeping up. And when I did my physical to basically stay in the Marine Corps, they're like, you don't really, you're for lack of better words, you're too banged up to stay in the military. So, so at that point, I was already teaching some people out of my garage, and those numbers just grew. And from there, we just, went to a 1,000 square foot facility to a 3,000 square foot facility. And now we've been in this shy of 8,000 square foot facility for roughly 12 years now. So
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, it's, at one point I thought I was thinking about moving to Florida and living in like a little trailer and helping out Renato over there, and because his academy's out in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm surrounded with on a daily basis at my academy, the atmosphere, the people, my students, they're truly an extended family. And some jiu-jitsu academies are able to say that. There are some that just like, where's the paycheck, turn on the lights, that type of thing. But
sure.
I absolutely love my students, and I look forward to, there's not a single day where I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go to the gym. Every day I look forward to going to the gym and working with my crew, and sharing either some words of wisdom or some jiu-jitsu with them, technique. And one thing about the Boys and Girls Club, if anything, I was like, man, I don't want to teach kids. That was what I said when I was at the Boys and Girls Club. If anything, it was like I said, it was one of those things where I was like, I don't really want to do this for a living. And
that makes you go, I don't even know if I want kids. No,
exactly. So I kind of like just let my volunteers run it for a while. And for the last 2.5 years, I've been teaching my own little squad. I have my killer squad. I like to call them a booger squad, because they all wear green gis.
Yeah. Okay.
So I call them my booger squad. But man, those kids are killers. And I get to work with them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I absolutely adore working with those kids. And when they don't have their hand raised, it like breaks my heart, man. I mean, I feel like I let them down. And so it refuels me. It gets me pumped up and energized to like tweak a couple of things, clean this up, or give them a secret move like the Joker choke.
Sure.
That's going to help them that's going to help them out. I got one kid that just flat out pulled side control. He's like, he pulled side control just to buggy choke his opponent. I'm like, I was like,
yeah.
We have a guy at the gym that does that all the time.
I have a purple.
I was like, don't do that. You only have 3 minutes. You might be able to pull it off. You might not, but let's not rely on that.
That's awesome though. I mean, that's just speaks volumes to you, and like paying forward like what you've learned and building up those young people who are going to pay that forward. So they're going to learn something when they're now young. Yes, we train them to be savages, but in life, they're not going to be savages. They're going to be what you are. You're a savage that's going to make people better in life. You know what I mean? So competition, Absolutely. You get this, you know what I mean? So like I try to tell people all the time, like, oh, why would you teach people how to do that, or young, or, oh, they don't need, we just did a thing, not too long ago where we were like a little event and people were asking, questions or whatever. It's like, oh, you got to come do this. And it's like, oh, we don't need to learn that. Or if people ask me like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you need to learn how to do that stuff now? It's like, well, I learned how to do everything else. For me, it's more of the challenge. It's like, what can I do? What more can I do as a man, not only for myself, but for my family? You're getting kids that are going to be like that, and they're going to be the leaders, the leaders in schools and the leaders who help people out, and, generation of military, young men and women who are, able to do that on a regular basis. They're not, and I hate to say it, like kids just off the street that aren't getting that help. You know what I mean? I wish they all did, to be honest. Like I wish we all could take them and, correct or give them whatever we could. But
I have a couple of my kids that, they joined the military and they'd been around me for a very long time. And I asked them, I was like, why join the military? It's like, well, it's, I know you, it's something that you used to do, and I see where you're at in life, and I want that. So I'm like, well, that's kind of a cool compliment. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And even though they're no longer on my mats, they know how to get in touch with me if they need any advice. They know that I've just walked out of my doors. It doesn't mean I've turned my back on them.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Yeah, you're connected for life. I mean, really, in the
100%.
grand scheme of things, we've had many guests where, Chad has known them for super long time but hasn't talked for years. Reached out, come on the show right away. They're like talking like they're best friends. Like they have, it's like that best friend that you pick up the phone and you're like, hey man, how you doing? It's like, I haven't talked to 10 years, but it's like we talked yesterday type deal.
Well, and just through jujitsu, it's getting bigger, but yet it's so small. The connections we have, like I have friends we've had on the podcast that I've known through social media or just texting and I've never met in person, but they're such good friends. It's crazy.
Yeah. You guys had Kim on your podcast not too long ago, and
Kenny Kim.
Yeah. I'd never met him in person, but when the pandemic hit, he reached out to me to do a quick little clip that he ended up throwing on a video, because I am half Asian, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're the virus," and all this, that, the other. So apparently he got a lot of rap on that earlier on when the coronavirus hit. Everybody wanted to blame every Oriental that they would see walking the streets and say, "Oh, you're the virus." So,
oh wow, I did. Okay, I'm so sorry that happened, man. Like that's awful.
So, well, I never caught the rap.
Oh, okay.
From here up, I look American unless I'm smiling, and then my eyes get really Asian. But
you look like me, like but I don't ever look at anybody differently.
Yeah.
So it's like,
when I smile and grin, my eyes like, okay, there's the Islander in you. Kim, he's about as Asian as they get. You look at him, he's pretty Asian. So when COVID-19 hit, everybody wanted to blame every Oriental that they would see and say, "You brought the virus. It's your people. It's your fault." Blah 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 blah. So he put together a couple of videos of of a few jiu-jitsu practitioners who are Asian American, and we all did a small little clip saying that we're not the virus. And I'm sure he still has it up somewhere, but he did a really good job at putting those videos together.
That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome that you guys did it. It's sad that it has to come to that, but we know this. We live in the worst country in the world sometimes, because you can walk down the street and you get everything. If you walk down a group of people, you're going to see everything versus other countries you go to. It's just different there. You know what I mean?
But even guys like him, you see jiu-jitsu guys like him that, they're probably not world champions or very well known in that area. But I mean, as far as like making changes in his community, he's an amazing ambassador to the art and a huge influencer when it comes to changing people's lives. So, my hat's off to him,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think he's just going to get bigger with his show, with that Matt Made show on YouTube. I think he's just going to keep going because he's very charismatic and very, he seems like a very cool dude.
And very genuine.
Yeah, very genuine.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Which is good. We need more genuine people.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I think I found more genuine people in the jiu-jitsu community than I've ever found in my life. So I'm like,
man, isn't that the truth? I just had a friend of mine here. His name is Brian. His brother is dealing with stage 4 cancer, and they've given his brother about maybe 5 to 6 months left. And he's from Guam. His brother has been like his hero. And Brian and I, we used to travel the country teaching or running jiu-jitsu seminars, just at, charities. The first one that we did was Mission 22 to bring awareness about veteran suicide. And then we would go to Connecticut and we would do a seminar over there called Black Belts for Butterflies.
Oh yeah.
And, yep. And that one's about people with autism. So, and once again, those two are charities, and we would just travel the country teaching seminars, jiu-jitsu seminars for free, just to help out the community. And then from there, We Defy was born, which is a program to help veterans, give them scholarships so that they could train jiu-jitsu. And we've all, tried to reach out in different areas to try to help out. But when he made it public that his brother was dealing with these problems, just the outpour on people helping out was just amazing. So, and then through jiu-jitsu, people have friends outside of jiu-jitsu that contribute. So it's, he's been very blessed in that regard, knowing that there's people that have his back that's helping him out and helping his family out through these difficult times.
That's great. I mean, I hate to hear that, and I'm sorry. And I want you to remind me of his name. And when we're off air, you can give me his last name if we don't want to do that, because I'll put him on my prayer roll so I can. It's just something I do. But it's the one thing that cannot be argued is like our community is like that. Like it's something like it's so organic. This like it's a grown organic thing. Like we're all intertwined. Like we all have, once we get on the mat for a while and you begin to get into jiu-jitsu and you start to find out things and you meet these people and you're so close in contact, and then meeting you, Pete, like if I saw you, I'd give you like the bro, like hug, like, hey man, how you doing? That kind of stuff. And it just takes that one time to have that connection. And then you're like, yeah, that's a big deal. And I think it's a big deal for us who stay in it, because there is other things in our lives. I think every jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world, even a percentage that are just hobbyists, is, which is obviously the higher percentage of people, myself too, is that we all need it. We need it in some other way. There's something in our life that said something or something along those lines of where we needed it, and it helps us all the time. You know, so that's good. Were you going to say something, Chad?
I was just, the community comes together. Like I'm sure all little communities come together. I mean, the jiu-jitsu people just pull together like no other. I feel like we've had, we have an annual cancer awareness seminar. Like I bring in the who's who of jiu-jitsu, and it's for charity for our local, it's called the Altman Foundation. It's in Canton here. And we donate that money. And I've had anywhere from JT Torres has taught at it, and Christian Woods-Manzi's taught at it. My instructor, James Klingerman's done it. So it's just something we've done for a lot of years that is pretty amazing,
Well, next time you put that on, shoot me a reminder, and I would love to be a part of it.
Yeah, we'll have we're having this year's October 1st. I just booked whoever, I don't know who Giancarlo.
Giancarlo Bardoni is?
Negative.
Okay. He's kind of big on the no-gi. I mean, he's a black belt under Lucas Lepre, but which is and then he trained.
I know who Lucas is.
Of course. Right.
Well, I mean, like I said, like you guys mentioned earlier, I got off social media, and I got off social media for about 2 years, and I lost touch of who is of this and
2 years is a lot,
So
probably good though.
Yeah, it was good, but then if I would have not gone back on, I wouldn't have known about Brian's brother. So
okay. Well, see,
so it's little things like that got me suckered back into.
Suckered back into the right.
Like, dang it!
Social media is good though for those connections though, like this, or to have this connection. Social media is good for that. It's just the unfortunate part is social media has gone like this, like completely down the tube to where it's not being used for that kind of stuff. I'm trying to apply Joe Rogan's rule of post and ghost, but yes.
But unfortunately, like I just get roped back in, and I'm like, man, I wonder if anybody commented to that or commented to this. Do I need to respond to that? Whatever. And so there's a couple of times that I'll go back after I post, and I'll look, and I'm like, man, I should have just kept my phone down. So
you don't want to read a bunch of troll knuckleheads out there. I got an award not too long ago, and they made me an honorary Oklahoma highway patrolman, and it's just honorary. So they gave me a plaque and award and all that stuff. And I wasn't going to share it on social media. I didn't want to throw it up on Instagram. But then my guys were like, I want you to share it, because we want other cops to know that it is okay to be training in jiu-jitsu, that to go in an environment that
that they're not going to feel comfortable in and out of their norm and to just start training. So we want you to share that. And sure enough, I shared it. I hashtag law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. And then within a couple hours, I had somebody up in New York that I've never met comment on there saying, "I hope all you pigs die." And I was like, good Lord, seriously. And
yeah, that's
you know, and if anybody follows a lot of my stuff, it's I am very pro law enforcement. I'm very pro people, patriot, religion. And the side note on this lady that had made all these negative comments, she was like, praise Jesus and all this other stuff. And then she wants to sit there and like have a diarrhea of the mouth and profanity about hoping that every police officer dies. I'm like, I was like, man,
that's rough.
And so, you know, it's sad. So you, and I call myself a Christian, which I'm a Christian person, man, my family, whatever, but I'm a terrible person because I'm a sinner like everybody else, like, you know, but it drives me crazy when people are like, oh, you're like, you preach this. And I'm like, I'm not preaching anything. I just, you know, okay, what's, you know, God have for me today or whatever. But like hearing people like talk and go like that, like just downgrade someone or that. And then they're like, praise you. And I go like, then I'm going, which I don't do. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, you're the reason people don't want to go to church. You're the reason people are like chastising me because you see me, I got tattoos all over me and people are like, oh, you go to church, you do this. And I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't make me. Like inside here is what really makes me, you know, and it drives me nuts, you know, people. Go ahead.
And people that practice religion. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good, man.
But people that practice religion, you know, none of us are perfect.
Sure, right.
But there is the whole other side where you say you practice and then you act like a complete heathen. I'm like, good Lord. I was like, it doesn't work that way. You know,
that's that lady commenting. I mean, that's really at the end of the day. That's you know, that's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah, it's a shameful.
But yeah, we're very happy about having the amount of law enforcement that's on our mats because there's a lot of cops that they are apprehensive to get on the mats because they're like, well, I'm afraid I'm going to get a hold of somebody and they're going to rip my arm off and they're going to, you know, just because I'm a cop or whatever.
Sure.
And yes, there are probably some gyms that are like that. But I like to believe in that I don't breed that type of behavior at my academy.
Sure.
That you know, and with as many cops that we have and prior military, I'm almost pretty safe to say that people can roll hard, but they're not going to purposely try to hurt anybody, which is great. You know, so and therefore we do keep a very good high percentage of law enforcement and military on our mats.
And that's same thing with us. I mean, we have a good LEO presence, first responders and stuff in our gym. And any new person that comes in the door, had a good friend, actually, our Chad and I, all our tattoos. He just started training in jiu-jitsu at the gym that does and you know, his fingers are his money makers. So, you know, but I kind of showed him a purple belt, real good guy. You know, took my back, got a choke, and Jason was sitting right there. And I let Dom pull it like all the way up, like close to blacking out type things. And then, you know, I tapped and I said, see, no one here is going to hurt you. You know, just don't roll with like newer guys, roll with your upper, like you were saying earlier in the show, Pete. Like it's so vital and important to kind of do that, but to understand like you're here to train, they're going to make you better. And they're going to put it on you, but not hurt you to where you're like, you're not going to move or get up the next day or whatever. Most gyms should be like that. It sounds like your gym.
And by all means, you know, once you get to like that purple belt level, or even at a pretty decent blue, by all means, get a hold of that spazzy little white belt that comes on the mats, because that's going to be the reality of things when you are trying to arrest somebody that does not want to go to jail
in real life. Exactly, 100%. Yep.
So, but wait till your skill set is to where you have the fundamentals down. and you have the mat reps to where you are familiar with almost any situation that is put your way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, 100%. And Chad and I have said this many times that LEOs feel protected because they're given a hardware piece of, whatever it may be, but a firearm on their side. And that's a protective anyone, if you have a CCW here in Ohio, I just actually saw someone because they changed the law here to everyone's allowed to open carry now. So I saw someone at a festival yesterday and I was like, wow, he's the first young man that I saw. And he said something like, he had real negative something on his shirt. And I was like, wow, that's cool.
We got constitutional carry here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very well. And I've had I've shot since I was a kid. I learned how to shoot. I'm a hunter. I have a lot of firearms. My kids know how to handle firearms and all that kind of stuff, which we've talked on the show with other people who shoot. And Chad used to be a country boy shooting groundhogs out of holes. It's kind of funny, but do you think, I'm going to totally derail what we were talking about. Do you think jiu-jitsu would have been, or did you ever think it would be what it is now?
Wow. I never thought that jiu-jitsu would evolve to where it's at. Just half guard was like, whoa, that's advanced stuff right there. Back then, so if you go back just maybe 12, 14 years ago, somebody would do deep half guard and they're like, whoa, that is just wild, or now you're working from a regular half guard and people are hitting like half back take submissions, arm triangles from there. Or even butterfly guard for that matter at one point was considered advanced jiu-jitsu. So
remember watching Marcelo X guard sweep everybody or play that stuff. It was like, what is this?
Yeah. And a lot of it was from a butterfly guard to an X guard entry into a back take. And, but then all his finishes, were all standard, triangles, rear naked chokes, arm bars. But the approach to those entries were, oh, you got out of the closed guard, how dare you? And then of course Eddie Bravo with his rubber guard back in the day, and man, it's got to be over 15, 20 years now since that, for sure. And and now people are playing lapel guards, barambolos. But and if I look at some old videos, we saw people do like barambolos back then. I think I even saw Cobrinha do a barambolo back in the day, and but it really wasn't even called anything till now. And but yeah, jiu-jitsu has certainly evolved, and I think a lot of people get into the whole, oh, this is flashy, this is cool right now, let's do this. But then at the end of the day, when age catches up a little bit and injuries catch up, we always resort back to the fundamentals of things. Sure. And of course, fundamentals can be argued in saying, well, you got to have your fundamentals for rubber guard down, or your fundamentals for worm guard, or inverted guard and tornado and whatever. I mean, if you think about the true fundamentals of things, closed guard, mount, side control, knee on belly, back take, honestly, like those are the primary positions on where you're going to finish and control most of the fights. So as we get older, I always look and I gravitate to trying to get in those dominant positions. And how I get there, there may be a little bit of a sprinkle of unorthodox, or a transition out of the closed guard, but you're going to have to at some point a little bit. And if you want to, if most people want to continue to operate a martial arts school, you are going to have to learn a little bit, and you're going to have to share some of this newer stuff, because this younger generation, they're just hungry for it. I mean, I got 9 and 10-year-olds that they possess the knowledge of a blue belt, and they just may not be able to execute half this stuff on a grown man that's 150, 170 pounds, but because they're 90 pounds, if 70 pounds, but they do have the techniques down. I can sit there and I can tell a kid, hey, show me how to do a closed guard pass, or open up the guard, or set this up, and they will do it more fine-tuned than some new adults.
Yeah.
There's so much information now. We joke, I joke about it. Guys said I started in my 40s. So you guys had nothing, like magazines, videos, VHS tapes, or whatever, seminars and stuff. And we joke, like, the younger generation now, they have everything, social media,
everything,
reels, all of it at their tips of their fingers. So,
but not to mention, they also have black belts on the mats now.
Yeah. And that's a big thing
sure.
too, right?
Is a huge thing. I mean, back then, VHS submissions 101 on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned a lot, but also by traveling and doing seminars, just like you mentioned. But I was the highest ranking guy on my mats for a while, being a blue belt, being a purple belt, a brown belt, and then eventually becoming a black belt. And I happened to be the first black belt in my town here, which certainly helps towards like credibility. But as far as like the champions that our academy has produced, and in worlds, pans, nationals, I got kids in combat jiu-jitsu, WEC back in the day. It's just been proven that, when you're learning from somebody that has the mat time, has the knowledge, that they're going to go out there and excel. And of course, and I can't take all credit for it, because my students are certainly hungry, and they're also cross-training, and they're venturing around and trying different things. And they're doing seminars too, and they're seeking out duty experts in different areas, and evolving their jiu-jitsu. So, and then they bring it back to the gym, and we all grow together. So,
which is awesome too, because you have that mind, you have that attitude to accept that, not just be closed off to go, it's mine and mine only. You know what I mean? Because we never
absolutely.
On this show, everyone is, like I said, this is our, 70th show that we're recording. Every guest has been phenomenal, and they all have that same mindset. Like they want to learn from others as well. But you read and see things out there on social media where it's like a closed door. Like, you're only allowed to learn from me and me only, and you're never allowed to bring any other information in from other people. Like, that's faux pas. Like, you don't do that.
Yeah. And the thing too is that I haven't seen the list of everybody that you've had on these podcasts, but there are hypocrites out there that say, it's I want to share jiu-jitsu, and then their students say, well, yeah, we're not allowed to cross train, we're not allowed to go anywhere.
Right.
But here is a DVD that you can see my techniques that you're sharing with the world. To me, it doesn't make sense. Or they'll go and teach a seminar at a non-affiliate school, and it completely be okay. But you can go share knowledge with somebody, but you're not allowing your students to go learn knowledge from somebody else. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's intimidation or a fear that they're going to lose people if they explore other options. The instructor can always argue and say, well, we don't want them learning bad jiu-jitsu, and which I think it's garbage, as far as like having that type of attitude. But I also think it's complete garbage being territorial over your clientele, because at the end of the day, they're your clients. They're not your territory. You don't own them.
Sure. Right.
And unfortunately, there are some gym owners or black belts that run academies that, like, if you leave, you're creonch, you're a traitor. And to me, it's like, if I'm losing clientele, it's, I understand the fact that sometimes people are going to move. Life gets in the way, priorities change, or maybe different interests. At the end of the day, I have to respect what your journey is, just like anybody else's journey. I love my kids. I love my students, but I'm not oblivious to the fact that if they find another academy that's better suited for them, that they're gonna stick around with me. They're not. They're gonna go somewhere else.
Sure.
And I'm completely okay with that, because I want them to come visit me every now and then, and continue to maintain that relationship and that friendship that we developed over the years by being on the mats together and grappling and training and rolling around. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's truly unfortunate that some people feel that way about cross training or people leaving their gym and going somewhere else.
Sure. I hope that evolves even more. Obviously, we want the community to get bigger and get as many people as we can involved for all the right reasons. So hopefully that'll, like the old saying goes, weeding out the weakness. Now, I'm not saying we're weeding out the weakness here, but we're weeding out the negativity. We got to change as a society in general. And this, and Chad, you and I have talked about this kind of stuff before, like good people and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's how I met a lot of friends in my early jiu-jitsu days, with seminars and cross training, right? Like, and going to tournaments, and, I didn't compete a lot, but I had guys that did. And that's how we got, that's how I made a lot of friends. So
it's important.
Well, on the flip side of things too, though, like I think that over a period of time, because I have a few affiliates under me, and I got a school up in Virginia, and I got a school in the Philippines, and about 8 of them in Oklahoma. They're all affiliated to the Triton name. But sometimes you do have to cut ties, either me cut ties with them or them cut ties with me.
Sure.
It's because some, either we just don't mesh, or sometimes people fall off of, they fall from away from doing what is ethical. And I don't want to be tied to anyone that is doing things unethically.
Right.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. You have to protect your, there is a side there where you protect your brand, you protect its self-awareness of what represents, because it's not just representing you. Yes, that's a huge part of it, but it's also representing every other connection that you already have to your brand, to your name,
that too, but also protecting my students,
your students. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%. You said you have an affiliate in the Philippines. Is jiu-jitsu pretty big there?
It has grown. The last time I visited the Philippines, it's been a couple of years. As a matter of fact, I think it was in either 2019 was the last time I went. And then I've not been able to return because of the pandemic. The Philippines are like on lockdown. Like, it takes about a year to get a visa for a local to come to the States.
Wow.
So it's really difficult for them. As a matter of fact, I had to promote my black belt via a video conference.
Okay.
And because I promoted him last year, and I was not able to travel to the Philippines, and he was due for his black belt. But the last time I was there, we went to, we took about an hour drive from Angel City, and either we went to like Manila or something, and one of the other towns, and there was Alianse there. There was Atos affiliates, and so there was some big name affiliations in the Philippines already, and it was a legit good jiu-jitsu tournament that was being kicked off.
Nice.
Not too many black belts at the time. I mean, there was maybe 2, I think, that I saw at the tournament, and they were primarily just running around, making sure that things were being ran correctly.
Sure.
Making sure that their athletes were being taken care of, but and also the event, because one of the black belts was the one that was hosting the tournament. But
okay.
And then recently on Belt Checker, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Belt Checker. But one of the guys just got ranked up to black belt, and he needed my approval because I had been following the guy in the past. So I sent him out. I told him congratulations on his promotion, and I believe he is. I think he's an Atos black belt. So
okay.
I have to go back and look at it. It was earlier today, and it's been a busy day. So
I get it. It's all good. But that's awesome though. So it's growing for sure. And that's important, even countries that are, smaller. Like I love to hear that. That's why I asked, hey,
if you ever visit the Philippines, they need something like jiu-jitsu because there's so much corruption and so much craziness going on there, people resorting to prostitution, drugs, and all sorts of other stuff. And they certainly need healthy outlets. In some of these third world countries, there isn't really much. And when you bring in something like jiu-jitsu that is just going to do nothing but better the community, everybody benefits from it. And either getting kids off the street, especially like I lived in Costa Rica for a while, and now in Costa Rica, they have a program called Heroes, and they're in Tamarindo, which is a town I used to go surfing at a lot, but they run a nonprofit program there just to keep kids off the streets.
Nice.
So it is great knowing that there's ambassadors out there doing things like this to better their community, help people out, give them different options other than doing drugs and prostitution or committing different types of crimes, whatever. So,
yeah, better life decisions, better life outlets. You know what I mean? Versus, they only see one thing, and they're like, oh, well, this is what I'm going to end up doing. It's like living in a inner city something, and they see, someone selling something on the corner or doing whatever, and they're like, that's all I know, and I got to do this. You know what I mean? So I love hearing that that kind of stuff is growing. Obviously, I have a huge passion for martial arts and jiu-jitsu too. Become an addict thanks to Chad. It's his fault.
It's not my fault. Thanks to jiu-jitsu.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, very good. That's awesome. I did want to ask you, do you remember your very first class? Like your very first time stepping on a mat?
Yeah, I got murdered.
Everyone I ask that's what they say.
Yeah. So I was in college up in New York at the time. And so we just got together on the mat room. And at the time I had boxed, I'd done some karate and a little bit of judo, nothing too crazy. I tinker around with judo. So it was about the throws. We didn't really spend too much time on submissions. Whenever I was learning judo, it was just more about, this is how you do an osotogari, and this is how you do a hip throw, and that's about the gist of it. Just getting to the ground enough to get to the ground and run away, or get to your weapon to employ your weapon. That was like the extent of my jiu-jitsu, my judo knowledge at the time. It was basically judo for law enforcement or judo for military.
Nice.
Other than the fact that you add restraints and things like that. And I never got into that whenever I was taking judo. So I can't remember, and I really hate the fact that I can't remember his name, but he was like, yeah, come at me with everything that you got. And I was like, sure, I'm going to come in swinging, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, whatever. I'm going to clobber this dude. And as I throw a punch, I don't see him. And all of a sudden I'm on the ground and I'm getting choked. And I was like, dude, what just happened? And all this is like within seconds. I don't think I made it to 10 seconds. I was like, this is garbage. And let's try this again. This is fluke accident, beginner's luck, whatever. And then I go again, and he like pulls me in, and I'm wrapped in between this dude's legs. I'm like, what crap is this? And then the legs are being wrapped around me, and yep, that was my first experience of being triangled. So,
man,
and I was like, man. So after that one, I calmed myself down. I was like, show me what you know. And so, once a week, every 2 weeks or so, we would get down together on the mats and we'd roll around and we practice and train. And I left New York, went back to Texas, and went into the Marine Corps. And then from there was like from one base to another, going out in the community, finding a place to train. But a lot of it was just, submission wrestling, jiu-jitsu, just getting wrecked. And I was like, I just need to get better at this. And I'm very much, when it comes to some things, it's, I'm a slow learner, but I'll take the time and I'll invest in it if it's something that does strike my interest and I feel that it's going to benefit me in the end. So when it comes to a skill set, but also calming my demons, because a lot of prior military people, a lot of LEOs, they deal with it. Jiu-jitsu has certainly been a very healthy outlet. So, to put things in perspective, but to also get away from all the chaos throughout the day and just get it out on the mats. And it's certainly therapy. It's certainly therapy for a lot of people. So yeah.
Good therapy, by the way, everyone out there. 100%. I'm sure everyone listening to this show they train in jiu-jitsu or some sort of grappling, I would hope. And if you don't, then you should.
Go do it.
Because it's going to give you the therapy that Pete is referring to and that we've referred to before. Because, it's
a life-changing experience.
It is.
It is.
You're going to
It's a shame that...
Go ahead,
yeah.
Chad.
I was just going to say, we could talk this till we're blue in the face about more LEOs training, right? There's such a fine line to getting them to come in and maybe drop the ego a little bit. You know what I mean? And experience that.
But if you also do jiu-jitsu for unselfish reasons, you may go out there and do it because, it's going to benefit your health. It's going to benefit your mindset. But at the end of the day, too, if you're able to make a change in somebody else's life and help them out with their own personal demons or their healthier lifestyle, better choices, getting them in shape, giving them a skill set that's going to make them better. And you're learning this, but yet you're also now able to share it with somebody else.
Right.
And in that, you also find like some purpose in your own personal life and breath,
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Very good. Well, it's an hour of your life. As I always say on the show, you're never getting back, Pete. We appreciate everything. What I want you to do, though, is I want you to shout out everything and anything that you want for people to get out there, all of it, the Mission 22, anything, any organization that you want people to get words on or ears on or eyes on. Shout them out. I put everything in the show notes. That way people can get to it. They can find things. You don't have to give the social if you don't want knuckleheads to, they're going to find you anyway. You know this.
Right. Well, obviously, a shout out to my instructor, Renato Tavares. Because of him, I am a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and his leadership, his example has certainly made me a better person, a better human being. I appreciate him for giving me the chances that others probably would not have given me. And I love you, sir. Appreciate you. Of course, there's Mission 22. So Mission 22 is a nonprofit organization that brings awareness to veteran suicide. Another one is Mighty Oaks Programs, and the founder, his name is Chad Robichaux. He's a former United States Marine and also law enforcement. And he is now, I believe, a 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Carlson Gracie Jr. Amazing human being. So if you ever have a chance to hit him up for a podcast, you should. But he is also the founder of Save Our Allies. So when all this chaos was going on in Afghanistan, and we were like, man, who do we send out to help these Americans, our allies, our translators? Him and Tim Kennedy and a few other people, they made it happen. And,
oh man, that's awesome.
Nice.
So Save Our Allies, We Defy, Mission 22, and Mighty Oaks. But also to add to We Defy, the founder of the program, his name is Alan Shabaro. He's a former Special Forces Army and a former drill sergeant as well. He is now either a 3rd or 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he runs his own academy in, I believe it's McKinney, Texas. But We Defy program or the We Defy Foundation, it is aimed to get veterans on the mats that cannot afford to be on the mats. And last but not least, actually I got 2 more. So
as much you can take as much as you want, man. That's a huge thing for Chad and I with this platform is like, we want our community and we want to give back and pay it forward to people to have this opportunity.
Right.
For sure.
You keep going, brother.
So if you see the shirt I'm wearing, Folds of Honor.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
So Folds of Honor, not jiu-jitsu related, but it's military. And what they do is they do all sorts of great things, but they also provide scholarships for kids to go to school. And
Nice.
Recently, my family, we've been very blessed because they have covered a huge percentage of my son's tuition towards going to school at a private school here in Tulsa. So shout out to Folds of Honor. You guys are awesome. Keep on doing what you guys are doing. You guys are amazing human beings, and keep it up. And last but not least, my wife is probably not going to hear this, but my wife, Sarah, I love her to death. She's an amazing human being. She and gives me a lot of encouragement towards being the man that I am right now and being the man that my parents raised me to be. If it weren't for her influence, I'd probably be a shithead, so, so
all of us would be, right?
Yeah.
We need those.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, she's, one of the best people in my life, truly.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm sure I'm missing a lot of other people out there, but I appreciate everybody for you guys having me on this show. Thank you very much. And
I will say, Pete, that you were the winner of the coolest background so far behind you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're definitely the winner.
That is
Like the bear.
nice. Yes. The bear at 50 there.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's so awesome.
But yeah, anybody listening, give jiu-jitsu a try. It's you might be disappointed at first, but if you stick it out long enough, it'll be very rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody
That'd be
that's
cool.
ever done it is disappointed. I still get disappointed. People always will. You always will. But trust me, there's someone right beside you that's going to make sure that disappointment is very short-lived because they want you to be better. Just like, you were saying, Pete, like you want your students to be better. Chad wants his students to be better. I want people to walk in the door and be better. On this show, I want them to walk away and be like, wow, that was great. Like I want to be better for things and just have, if I could do anything in my life, I could care. I don't care about anything like possessions or anything. I don't need anything. I've had a really rough life, but I'm also blessed. And I go, you know what? I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure everyone in front of me can get the best of the best, or get, I want to support them success and everything. So I love that you shout out all those. And anytime, man, if you need something or, hey, can you guys share this or do whatever, holler at us and we'll do whatever we can do.
Yeah.
Bunch of old guys running a podcast about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and life. And shout out to all the great women in our life. Yes, your wife, Chad's girlfriend. I say it every time. I would not, as well with you, Pete. I would be dead in a ditch if my wife was not part of my life. Yeah, people are like, yep, yes.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, sir.
Keep on doing great things.
Thank you.
Hey, we will connect, Pete, on our charity seminar sometime. We'll get you out here. Maybe you and Ari could do it together. That would be awesome.
Oh, that Canadian.
I know.
Put you guys in a room.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He can be the little spoon.
That's great.
So
I'm gonna take a clip and send that to him. You're a little spoon son. I love Ari. He's a great guy. He's good.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah. So, all right, Pete. So thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. God bless you and your family and everything you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, my man. All right.
All right.
We'll see
Thanks,
you,
brother.
All right.
See
Later.
ya.
Bye.